Rivoli. Join me in creating this beautiful Belmont pendant featured in our Design Live with our New England Bead Society. Thanks to Jenny for some of the inspiration and working and collaborating together. Remember, if you need any materials, go ahead and check out the links below in the description to shop with us online. Gather everything up and let's get started. So to begin our Belmont pendant, I have my 14mm Rivoli here as well as my 11/0 seed beads. And I'm going to string on 0.006 wildfire beading thread about 4 feet of the green color. Now what I want to do first is tie off a section of 16 beads. So there's 16 beads, and I'm going to tie this guy off and just make a nice little circle loop there. I'm then going to take my needle and thread through 4 beads and bring my thread out. With my beads out after 4, I'm going to grab my 2x3mm rondelles, and these are in the light sapphire color there. And we're going to add onto our thread and needle a collection here of my sapphire bead along with 6 seed beads on each side, 1 in the middle. Or sorry, 3 beads on each side, 1 in the middle, so 7 beads total. Prior to that, I want you to add 1 of your 11/0s, 1 of your crystals, and then 7 of your beads. Once you have 7 beads on there, you're going to come back through the crystal. So I'm sewing back through that 2x3mm rondelle, making that into a little loop, which we're going to connect to later, adding 1 more 11/0 seed bead, and then I'm sewing back through that 4th bead there. So I'm sewing back through, my thread was coming out the top, I'm sewing into the bottom, and that's going to make almost a little petal to sit here on the side of the design. From here, I'm going to sew through the next 4 seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, and come on out. We're going to repeat this a total of 4 times. So 11/0 crystal, 7 of my 11/0s. Once those 7 are on, you're coming back down through your crystal, adding on 1 more 11/0. Whatever 4th bead you're coming out there, you're coming out the top, you're going to sew into the bottom. And at the same time, this time also through the next 4 beads. So it's going to look like you're sewing through 5 beads total. The one you just exited, as well as 4 more. So I'm going to do 2 more rotations here, doing 2 more little petals till I have a total of 4, getting ready to hold my Rivoli in place. So finishing up our little petals here, I'm adding my last 11/0 seed bead, sewing back through that bead, and you can see they're going to sit symmetrical around in those 4 groupings of 4. Now what we want to do is take our thread and needle, and we're going to sew up to the top of that seed bead collection. So I'm going through my first 11/0 on that petal there, through my first crystal, up through 1, 2, 3 seed beads, and then I'm going to sew out through the 4th seed bead. What this is going to do is when we made these little petals here, we're always going to catch on to the oddball. So we use 7 total. We're going to catch on to the 4th. In between, we're going to add 1, 2, 3 11/0 seed beads, and then we're going to go to the next little petal top and sew through again that 4th bead. Once again, add 3 beads, go up to the next of your top petal, and sew through. I'm going to do the 3rd one here. You're going to start to see it close in on itself into this netted bezel. 3 more go on, sew through the next one. You can see I'm not pulling super tight because I still need to put my Rivoli in there. So I don't have to worry too much about pulling tight until I get my Rivoli in place. Once I'm there, I'm going to sew back through that first 11/0 that my thread was coming out of. So we caught on the top of all of those 4. You're going to lay your Rivoli in, and then you're going to do a nice tight pull to gather up your netting here. I'm just going to kind of move this in place, move it so it's symmetrical, sitting on the sides here. And then what you're going to do is we're going to sew back through that whole front section, so all the groups of 3 as well as that top bead. As you do so, now is when I'm going to worry about how the fit is going, pulling nice and tight and getting that bezel to sit correctly. So I don't worry about it too much the first time around because I have more thread to tighten it up. Make sure that it's even and it should sit nice and in that diamond shape. See, and as you're putting that second strand in, you're tightening up those edges. So you're making sure and securing that Rivoli in the center. The Rivoli then, once we get this second pass through, will not have an opportunity to fall out any of the sides because they're holding it in place. If you flip over, it's pretty on the back too, just with those crystals in all the corners. Jenny did a nice job. And I'm going to just continue up, getting through that final reinforcement before bringing my thread and needle out to the sides. So once we're done going through and reinforcing that center, we're going to come out through the first 3 seed beads after the bead that our needle is exiting. So we're going to go up through that little original petal. When we come out of there, I want you to add 1 11-0 seed bead, followed by one of my 3 by 4 millimeter rondelles, and I'm using a really pretty sapphire opal color here. Coming out there, we're going to do a tiny bit of right angle weave, adding in 1 11-0, one of our 2 by 3 millimeter crystals, 1 11-0, another one of our 2 by 3, 11-0, 2 by 3, 11-0. So you have 3 crystals with seed beads before and after. I want you to go back into this same 3 by 4 millimeter rondelle through the opposite side. So the thread is coming out the left, now I'm going into the right. What that's going to do is create a little right angle weave unit to sit at the top of the piece. Add an 11-0, and you're going to come down through those 3 beads that sit on the right hand side of that petal. So you can see how it just kind of makes a loop right out there, or a little right angle weave loop. From here, I'm going to go through the piece, and I'm going to mimic this on the other sides. So we're going to just change this up a little bit from Jenny's design. That was with the New England Bead Society. They did a design live, Jenny and Anna. And we're going to go up through those 3 seed beads and repeat. So 1 seed bead gets added, followed by 1 of your larger rondelles, followed by 3 of the smaller rondelles as well. And we're going to repeat this on every corner. So every one of those 4 corners is going to have this same pattern repeated, creating the crystals, 3 crystals following the 3 smaller crystals following the bigger crystal with 11-0 seed beads before and after. Let that all drop down. Once again, so through that same blue crystal, the thread was coming out right hand side, we're sewing into the left there, bringing it into a nice right angle weave unit and pushing it down toward that little petal corner. Add an 11-0, go down through the right side of the petal, and that's just going to stick that off to the side. Continue this 2 more times till we have matching sides on all of the piece here, and then we'll get ready to connect the sides as well as go through and add on our tassel. So now we have our 4 sides here, and we're going to work on connecting to the blue rondelle that sits in the middle. That's Sapphire, the opal color. I'm going to come up through the piece here after coming down and finishing that right angle weave unit, and I'm going to go back up through those 3 seed beads that sit on the right hand side. At the same time I go back up through those, I'm going to go back through the first 11-0 seed bead that sits to the side of the crystal, and then as well right through that crystal. So you're going to want to go through just the crystal. So if a seed bead wants to hop on in there, just come out right through the crystal, and then we're set up and ready to go to connect all of our crystals together. So I've already started with 2 of the sides to show you. You're going to do 2 11s, 1 of your smaller rondelle, 1 bigger, 1 smaller, then 2 11-0 seed beads. Hop over from the previous rondelle to the next one in line. When you go through the next one in line, just make sure you're not going through any seed beads whatsoever. Those 11-0s should just kind of fit right in between that little right angle weave at the top. Again, 2 11s, then small crystal, bigger crystal, smaller, followed by, once again, 2 11-0 seed beads. Skip over to the other side, to the next of our rondelles, and sew on through. Now obviously I already had 2 of those times completed, but you're going to do a total of 4 times to catch into those 4 crystal rondelles. From here we're going to work on connecting our outside. So we're going to be coming out of that last rondelle. We're going to sew up through our seed bead, crystal seed bead on the side, out through our crystal, out through the seed bead. The seed beads will be included in this last rotation. If you want to, you can actually stop now, make a little loop at the top, and your pendant is finished. We're going to add a little bit more of that dark color onto the exterior as we connect to the seed bead, crystal seed bead at the top of all of our petals. So as you're going in here to connect to the last section, you can see, once again, I already did 2 to show what it looks like. You're coming out of that seed bead there. You're going to add 1, 2, 3 seed beads, followed by your smaller crystal, seed bead, larger crystal, seed bead, smaller crystal, and then once again 3 of your 11-0 seed beads. Go up to the next little top of that petal and sew through the 11-0, the crystal, the 11-0. And there you have that loop around. Once again, we're doing the exact same thing. 3 seed beads followed by crystal, 11, crystal, 11, crystal, followed by, once again, 1, 2, and 3 seed beads. Back up to the top where you started as you're finishing off, and back through the crystal with the 11-0s on either side. And there you have that nice Belmont pendant. Now if you want to, you can see just in the design live section how Jenny created hers, did a little bit of right angle weaves at the top here. I'm going to go ahead and attach my tassel to the bottom and do one little finishing section to the top of my pendant to create a bail. To do so, I'm coming out of the top of that 11 crystal 11, and I'm going to add in 1, 2, 3 more 11s, followed by 1 crystal, followed by 5 11s. Once again then, 1 more crystal, followed by 3 crystals, and we're going to sew back through that 11 crystal 11 combo. So this is going to be our bail that we'll connect to. You can use a split ring, you can use a jump ring, you can use anything to connect there to the top. I'm going to use some ribbon or some silk there at the top. Go back up through the seed beads, back up through the crystal, through the seed beads at the top that created your bail, and then reinforce back down through the sides of the crystal, down through the side of the bail. From here, I'm going to take my needle and thread back around the exterior of my pendant, going back through those seed beads at the top there in the crystal, as well as through the connector point of the seed beads, crystal seed beads, all the way till I get to the bottom. When I get to the bottom then, I will have the opportunity to add my tassel. If you don't want to add your tassel, you're just going to tie off your thread ends and finish off your piece. The tassel is a nice little added flare. Same deal, just like I was at the top, coming out after the seed bead, crystal, seed bead, needle will exit. And now I'll get ready to put on my tassel. To add our tassel, I'm coming out through the 11-0 seed bead again after the crystal, mirroring the top. We add 4 seed beads. We're going to keep it really simple. You're going to go to the top of the tassel and see that little connector thread there? We're going to sew underneath those connector threads. So we're going to get underneath all of them. We're going to sew right through there. We're going to add 4 seed beads, and we're going to go back through that 11 crystal 11. Just like we did at the top, we're going to reinforce the tassel here and go through there one more time. You can also check out Therese's video on the tassel caps. I also have one as well if you want to decorate your tassel and really make it stand out. Going down through the edge then, we're going to sew back through that little tassel area. If you get a little bit more than that, those couple threads, that is totally fine too. Back up through the seed beads. And then I'm going to proceed to go and sew back up through the piece till my thread comes out the back, and all I have to do is knot it off. for this beautiful Belmont pendant. Thanks so much for joining me on this pendant, and thanks to Jenny as well for the inspiration and design ideas. Remember, if you need any materials, go ahead and click below to shop with us online. That description has all the links right there if you need any materials. Remember also, you can post your videos in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Show us your photos there and how you changed up or the design differences that you made. Continue to subscribe so that way you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and on to the next one.